You do not own a passport. You own an active employment contract. Look at the card sitting in your wallet right now. It does not bear the golden embossed seal of a democratic nation-state. It does not carry the flag of your ancestors or the proud crest of a free republic. It bears a minimalist corporate logo, a high-resolution security watermark of a global conglomerate that purchased your entire city before your parents were even born. You do not pay taxes to a municipal government. You pay monthly subscription fees for your basic human survival. Every single chrome turnstile you walk through on your way to work scans your professional productivity rating in real time. If your daily performance metric drops by even 3%, the world around you changes instantly. The water pressure in your apartment decreases. Your digital network bandwidth is systematically throttled. The glass subway gates will simply refuse to open for your morning commute. You are living inside a timeline where countries went completely bankrupt in the winter of 1990. When the old world political order collapsed under the weight of historic sovereign debt, there were no international bailouts. There were no democratic interventions. Hyper-deregulation allowed massive multinational consortiums to directly purchase bankrupt national judiciaries, collapsing infrastructure grids, and sovereign territories. They did not just manage the broken systems. They bought the physical land. They printed proprietary digital currencies. They completely replaced the legal concept of a citizen with the administrative status of an active employee. You do not live in a country anymore. You reside inside an active corporate asset zone. Think about your current morning routine. You unlock your front door using a biometric iris scanner linked directly to your corporate division. The housing unit you sleep in is not your property. It is leased to you as a conditional performance benefit. If your labor contract is terminated, your residential clearance expires at midnight on the very same day. There are no eviction courts here. There are no sympathetic judges. There are only automated security protocols that lock you out of your own hallway. The streets you walk on every day are utterly flawless. There is no visible litter on the pavement. There is no traditional street crime in the dark alleys. Private security contractors dressed in matte black uniforms patrol every commercial sector with silent, lethal precision. But you must understand that this safety is not a civil right. It is a corporate amenity reserved exclusively for Tier 1 and Tier 2 staff members. Look up at the massive digital banners hanging from the obsidian skyscrapers. They do not broadcast political slogans or revolutionary promises. They display real-time performance metrics and production yields for the entire administrative district. Every worker walking past you is wearing a matching electronic identification ledger on their chest. You can read a person's entire social value, their emergency health coverage level, and their geographical transit clearance just by observing the blinking color of their digital lapel. The dangerous part of this world was not the chaotic transition period. It was how quickly humanity normalized the contract. When the corporations initially took over the infrastructure, they eliminated national debts overnight. They stabilized the hyperinflated currencies by replacing them with secure, proprietary digital credits that never lost value. They built magnificent automated transit networks that arrived exactly to the second. They made daily life clean, predictable, and perfectly efficient for the survivors. But they quietly took your history and your legacy in exchange. In this reality, your life parameters were decided before your birth. When two employees from different corporate divisions decide to marry, they do not apply for a marriage license from a state official. They submit a cross-corporate synergy request to human resources. The system analyzes their genetic profiles, their combined performance metrics, and their long-term value to the firm. If the alignment is approved, the company allocates a larger housing asset and issues a credit bonus. If the algorithm predicts a net deficit, the union is restricted. Children born into this system do not inherit a homeland. They inherit an initial debt balance. The cost of your mother's prenatal care, your delivery in a corporate medical theater, and your early childhood nutrition are all automatically charged to your legacy ledger. You begin your first entry-level position not to build wealth, but to pay off the cost of your own development to the corporation that sponsored your existence. You grow up learning the internal corporate code of conduct instead of a national constitution. Your schools do not teach independent history or political science. They teach advanced systems optimization, technical efficiency, and asset management. You do not vote in democratic elections because there are no public offices left to fill. The old local government building is now a regional corporate headquarters. The courtrooms do not judge crimes against human society. They strictly settle material breaches of user agreements. Everything you consume in this life is integrated into a singular, closed proprietary loop. The traditional concept of a local open market where independent vendors sell goods does not exist. All commerce has been digitized and consolidated. If you want to buy groceries, you do not use cash. You use your identification ledger to deduct credits from your internal account. Every calorie you consume is tracked, monitored, and adjusted based on your health risk assessment score. If your cholesterol levels rise beyond the corporate safety threshold, the smart vending systems in your sector will automatically lock you out from purchasing high-fat items. You still think your mind is free because your apartment is quiet, but your thoughts are monitored by the network latency of your own system. You open your handheld digital terminal to check your morning notifications. You do not browse an open, chaotic web. You access a restricted corporate intranet that filters every piece of data based on your specific department clearance. The music you listen to on the train, the media you watch before bed, and the food products available in your sector are all owned by the exact same board of directors that signs your digital ledger. If you attempt to access an independent or unmonitored network, your entire connection is immediately flagged as a high-level compliance anomaly. Imagine trying to visit an old friend who lives in a neighboring industrial sector. You cannot simply buy a train ticket and travel across the old state line. You must formally submit a cross-sector visa request through your department supervisor days in advance. The central transit algorithm will evaluate if your physical destination aligns with seasonal operational efficiency. If the automated system determines your trip has no direct productivity value, your movement registry is denied. Your entire geography is restricted by your current utility to the balance sheet. Even your physical body is just another metric on a real-time corporate dashboard. Your biometric wearable continuously streams your vital signs, your sleep cycles, and your blood pressure directly to the Human Resources Medical Division. If your stress levels remain elevated for 3 consecutive working days, your medical insurance tier is automatically downgraded by the network. The system considers chronic fatigue a foreseeable liability to the quarterly projections. You are not offered a paid vacation. You are simply reassigned to a lower tier sector with fewer atmospheric amenities. You still believe your identity is defined by your personal choices. But in this timeline, your choices are just curated options inside an endless corporate subscription model. You cannot simply quit your job because there is no public space left to retreat to. The public parks, the concrete sidewalks, the interstate roads, and the very air filtration systems running inside the urban dome are all proprietary infrastructure. To be unemployed is to be legally displaced from reality. It means you no longer possess a valid, functioning registry code to exist inside the managed grid. To resign from your position is to choose absolute non-existence. You become an off-grid entity, surviving like an animal in the abandoned, unmonitored ruins between the glowing corporate sectors. Every morning during your commute, you see them through the thick, reinforced glass of the high-speed transit pods. The people without contracts, the terminated citizens. They live like ghosts in the cold shadows of the old-world skyscrapers, entirely disconnected from the clean, brilliantly lit streets of the corporate center. They have no data access, no clean water subscriptions, no emergency medical care, and no legal existence under the law. They are the permanent visual reminders of what happens when your metrics fail. The system keeps them there intentionally. Real-time fear is the most efficient fuel for global human productivity. When an employee reaches the age of retirement, they do not receive a pension from a public fund. Their value is reevaluated one final time. If their accumulated savings ledger is positive, they are permitted to purchase a lifetime residential lease in a specialized retirement asset quadrant. If their balance is insufficient, and they have no descendants to absorb their remaining debt, their contract is dissolved, and they are transitioned to minimal maintenance facilities outside the primary urban centers. So you log in every single morning. You scan your biometric card at the terminal. You click accept on the updated 30,000-word user agreement without reading a single line of the fine print. You meticulously optimize your facial expressions and your speech patterns to satisfy the emotional recognition algorithms because the alternative is complete financial and physical erasure. The world is not an open map of sovereign nations anymore. It is a highly volatile, competitive balance sheet managed by a few global enterprises. The historic United Nations was replaced decades ago by a supreme corporate board coordinating specialized economic zones across the continents. Your life is peaceful, incredibly secure, and entirely hollow. You have willingly traded your chaotic civic identity for an uninterrupted high-speed data stream and a guaranteed housing allocation. You have forgotten what it feels like to stand on a piece of natural land that does not belong to a corporate entity. Look at the card in your hand one more time before the screen dims. Read the microscopic fine print at the bottom of the glowing digital glass. It explicitly states that your thoughts, your metadata, and your identity are the exclusive legal property of the issuer, subject to immediate termination at any moment based on global operational necessity. You were never supposed to exist in this timeline. If history moved 1 inch differently, who would you become? Reality is not permanent. Every civilization lives one decision away from another timeline. Another fracture already exists. Which reality should be opened next?